an organization, then what will happen? In India also, it is said that the opposition has to be very strong. Otherwise, certain things, whatever the decisions, the rules, the acts which are being passed time to time, they would be unidirectional only, and there won't be anyone to challenge it. Recent incidents of Vinod Dua, probably you should go and read the newspaper. You will find what happened to Vinod Dua when Section 124, the sedition law, was enacted against Vinod Dua, and then in the hearing of Supreme Court, what actually has happened. So all these things are examples. Even inside our states, in the region, there are hegemons. Sometimes they are contributing to the development, sometimes they are not. So this is how this particular field always remains a particular point of discussion. Now, moving ahead, let us now understand the overall timeline of the world's economic history. As you can see on the screen right now, this particular timeline of the world's economic history tells you about the overall changes in the world economy that took place right from prior to 3000 BC. So prior to 3000 BC, the bartering system started, wherein the goods and services and the things were exchanged for another. Then in 650 to 600 BC, the first metal coins appeared. That was in Turkey. China prints the first paper money in 618 to 907 BC. Then, by that time, as you can see, the economy of the world until 1000 BC was only 211.7 billion US dollars. Now, in 1492 BC, the Christopher Columbus makes it to America, flooding the Europe with the precious metal. And at that time, the global economy reached to 433.8 approximate billion US dollars. Now, the major thing that happened immediately after that was the Bank of Amsterdam in 1683 issued the first fiat money in euro. Now, with this, the global economy has got boosted. Then again, the US dollar was born in 1792. Then Adam Smith in 1723, considered the father of economics, was born, and he gave lot of theories on economics. At that time, the world economy rose to 648.2 billion US dollars. Now, gradually, if you see, the economies have grown. In 1950, the Diners Club created the first general purpose card, as you call it, as a debit card or a credit card. That took place in 1950. That time the economy was around 4.77 trillion US dollars. Then in 1921, the Great Depression came. Everyone has suffered from the saturation, oversaturation. The market was flooded with the similar goods, and therefore there was no new demand which was coming, and it has entirely affected the market a lot. This was called as the Great Depression, and the second reason was the World War. Because of the sudden World War, people were not having the money to spend on the foods, the goods, and the resources. So that Great Depression happened. The 1948, the Marshall Plan. You can Google it and you will find the Marshall Plan had got enacted, and by that time the global economy rose to 13.38 trillion US dollars. In 1971, the US dollars loses its convertibility to gold, and that time the global economy was 33.11 trillion US dollars. Now, in 1991, a major event happened, that was the internet creation. At that time, the economy rose to 58.6 trillion US dollars. Now, as you see, in 2009, the Bitcoin was born, but it gained this particular popularity recently. Now, again, near 2009, in 2007-8, we again faced the Great Recession. All such kind of events have happened time to time, and now, as you see, into today, we are living in the era which is greatly affected by COVID pandemic. So we will see in the next slide as to how the economies have got affected during this particular phase and what is the projection. So this is the projection according to the World Economic Outlook in the April month they had published a report, and according to that report, if you see, in 2020 there was a depression, there was a recession, and the global economy, that economies have gone down to minus 3.3%. It indicated that the productions and all other things have suffered greatly. There was huge loss, job loss, especially the employment loss that was seen in 2020. In India also, a lot of people have lost the employment. The part-time wage workers, then the small businessmen, they had suffered greatly. Now, in 2021, as per this particular World Economic Outlet projections, the global economies are now going to rose to approx 6.0 percentage. That is really a good sign. But then again, because of the second wave in many countries, third wave in many countries, again there will be a slight variation, and the effects can be seen in the immediately preceding year, that would be 2022. And according to that projection, the global economy will rose only 4.4% in the next year. Now, talking about the advanced economies, here you can see in the year 2020, the advanced economies, that is the developed economies of the world, they have gone down to minus 4.7%. And then in 2021 they are expected to grow by 5.1%, and then in 2022 it would be 3.6%. Now, talking about the emerging markets like India, so here you will find that the growth will be around 6.7 to 7%. In 2020 it was gone down to minus 2.2%, and 2022 the projection is 5.0%. If everything goes well, then this would be the figure. Now, moving ahead, let us now understand the things from IMF's point of view, the International Monetary Fund. According to International Monetary Fund, IMF, they have predicted the world economy, and they have predicted that for this particular year, the forecast of the GDP would be 6%. That is a really good sign. As you can see from the color charts and the color codings, the dark color, whatever the dark color is being seen, here it is in case of India and China, you will see that the growth would be between 8 to 10% and above 10%. Rest of the economies will grow from 2% to 8%. So this is how the global economies will be having their particular projections for the particular year 2021. And this is the published report by International Monetary Fund. And here on the particular screen you can see the global map with the 7 continents. Now, moving ahead, let's talk about the Indian economy snapshot. As per the economic survey of 2020 and 2021. This is the latest report which has been published. Economic Survey of India, they had published this particular report. As you can see, the current account balance in terms of percentage of GDP, it will rose to 3.1% from minus 0.9% for the year 2021. The foreign exchange reserves are also likely to grow this year to 586.1 US billion dollars as compared to the year 1920, wherein it was 475.6 US billion dollars. Now, if you see the major sector which is contributing the major GDP, major percentage of GDP, that is the agriculture, forestry, and the fishing sector, you will find that it will grow only to 3.4%. That growth rate of GBA at the basic price in percentage has been given. Now, talking about the industrial growth, industry will not be growing again to this year because of the COVID pandemic, the loss of demand, the market has not got open fully. People have become much more pessimistic after the COVID, and then they have started saving the money more. And the major sectors which have got affected because of this COVID are actually the hospitality sector, the tourism sector, and the automobile industry. The next one to suffer would be the small educational institutes, the small businesses, and all the constructions. that has greatly affected. So industry has been connected to all these sectors, and therefore there has been no growth which has been predicted. They will be going down by minus 9.6%, which is not a good sign, which clearly indicates that there would be further job losses and the employees will be laid off in for the year 2021. And if the scenario continues, if we get the third wave, probably the situation will become further worse. Now, moving ahead, let's talk about the service industry. Service industry will also not give us a very good hope, as you can see, as compared to year 2019, wherein the service industry had grown to 5.5%. This year, it would be witnessing a downfall of minus 8.8%, which is not a good sign. It indicates that service industry will further suffers from this particular pandemic, and then there would be further job losses and the unemployments which would be created. Now, inflation, if you see, the wholesale price index, as talks about, it is going down. It means that the overall inflation in terms of wholesale price index, it is going down, but the CPI combined, it is 6.6 percentage. Now, if you look at the entire GDP growth of India, in 2017-18, India was having a GDP growth of 7.0 percentage, 18-19 6.1%, 19-20 4.2%, then 2021 because of the pandemic minus 7.7%, and finally 21-22 the GDP growth rate is predicted to be very high, but IMF and other organizations have further revised the growth rate to around 7.4 to 7.6 percentage for the year. This survey was conducted prior to the latest report which has been published. So at the time when this particular survey was conducted, the figures were calculated and assumed to be 11%, near around 11%. That is the projected figures. But today it is being projected that the figures would vary a lot, and India won't be able to touch the double digit in GDP just because of another COVID wave. And India has to further invest in creating more healthcare facilities, the better healthcare facilities, providing the vaccines to everyone, and that will add to the cost. And further, there are two cyclones. Because of that, there was a huge demand of the funds from the states, and that has actually again taken a toll against the overall object of providing the free vaccines to everyone. So all these things are going on, and this is actually affecting the GDP of the country. Now, going ahead, let us now understand the world economies which are struggling with the rising unemployment cases. Now, as you all know that globally the economies are struggling a lot. Why they are struggling? Because many such factors are there. Like for example, the Greece crisis, which has happened recently in 2016-17. Prior to that, there was the subprime mortgage crisis in United States. Then all other crises which are there in the form of wars, in the form of natural disasters, are also taking place time to time. Many developed countries are still developed. They are not so much greatly affected, but all the developing countries, because of this pandemic, had greatly affected. And as you look at the unemployment ratio is indicating towards a very, very dangerous picture of those economies. As you can see from this particular slide right now, which is in front of your screen, that world economies which are struggling with the rising unemployment during the year 19 and 2020, you will find that Brazil, they were having an unemployment of 11.9% in 2019, and in 2020 the unemployment rose to 13.4%. It's a very crucial and very critical sign, indicating that there was a lot of job losses, many people were laid off, and the industrial output was also significantly less for this particular last year. Now, looking at Italy again, Italy's overall unemployment rose from 9 point. Yes, please.
The screen is not visible.
Screen is not visible. How about others? Can you see the screen?
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
Okay, I just shared it to you all. How about the previous screens? Previous one were visible to you or not?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you for the confirmation. This screen was visible to you all? This one?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay. So, as we are talking about the world economies which are struggling with the rising unemployment, you can see Brazil, Italy, Canada, United States, France, United Kingdom, Germany, and Japan. Most of the countries are struggling with the unemployment because of declining industrial output, declining demands, and that is
Hello, sir.
actually taking. Yes, please.
Hello. This
Hello.
is Sidhu, sir. Sir,
Pardon? Yes, please
this
ask.
all of these are current updates are old, sir.
These are the current updates. You can see
Okay.
2020 last quarter.
Okay. Okay. Last page. Last page.
This was also the current update, April 2021.
Okay. Okay. Yes,
And
thank you.
this is also the current update, GDP for 2021 forecast.
Okay. Okay.
Where did you see the old report? Did you see any old report over here, Sidhu?
No, no, sir. No, just I want to confirm, sir. Just I ask you.
Okay. Okay, talking about the unemployment, unemployment is just because of lack of demand, the market constraints, changing circumstances, then the natural disasters. Today we are struggling with the pandemic, tomorrow something else will come. So, all these things are basically indicating towards the human greed, towards making superpower, and then at the same time, in the bargain, the nations are getting affected. Recently, ex-president of United States, Donald Trump, he said that all the economies of the world, all the nations should come together and should table a bill of 10 billion US dollars, not less than 10 billion US dollars, to China for creating this mess. And yes, I also agree with this. As a superpower, they should force China to pay this much of amount to the entire world because of them only we are greatly affected. We have lost that hope also for the last year and this year also that the economies will revive. Such things are going to happen again and again. Now people have started living with this new normal. We don't know at when we would be able to go and take a fresh air without using the mask. When we don't know when we are going to become free from all such kind of problems. Tomorrow something else will come in the form of a biological war. Recently, two doctors, the couple doctors, they are in the limelight. You must read their particular story as to how the seeker, they are called as a seeker, they had gone into the details and found that this particular virus has been engineered. And globally, a lot of talks are going on the particular findings of this particular doctor couple, and this particular report is called as the seeker. You can google it and you will find all the details to it. So unemployment is one of the major sign that the GDP is falling, as you can see from the latest reports of International Monetary Fund as it is being published in their website. After that, no survey was conducted. So this sign clearly indicates that Japan has an unemployment of 3.3% for the year 2020-21 as compared to 1920. But still, as you see, India, nowhere the figures will come over here because the Indian figures will be much higher. And I have just compared one of the most developing economies or the developed economies with the help of this chart. The further discussion was already happened for the Indian economy in this particular previous slide as to how India has struggled and what would be the GDP growth and other particular inflation, fiscal deficit, industrial growth, agricultural, forestry and fishing, and what would be the impact on the service industry. Now, moving ahead, let us understand the concept of the global economy, that is the structure of the global economy. जब हम स्ट्रक्चर की बात करते हैं तो दो चीजें सामने आती हैं. सबसे पहला तो ये the market economies and the systems, and the second one is called as the market systems. So when we talk about the structure, it comprises of two things, two major aspects. the market economy and the systems, and the second one is called as the market systems. Here, based on the private ownership of business and allows marketing factors such as supply and demand to determine the business strategy. So market economies will be based on private ownership, and they will allow the marketing factors, factors of production and other factors such as supply and demand to determine their overall business strategy. The characteristics are basically the mature economy. For the global economy, their characteristic is the mature economy, well-developed infrastructure, and individual wealth. As you can see in Forbes top 10 list, there are a lot of rich people. Many billionaires and millionaires have got created during the pandemic phase only. You have Jeff Bezos from America. He was the particular chief executive officer of Amazon. As you can see, the Mark Zuckerberg, Jack Dorsey from Twitter. From India, you have Anand Mahindra, you have Ajim Premji, you have Mukesh Ambani, you have Radhakrishnan Damani, you have Jhunjhunwala, and there are many other players also which have actually contributed and which have actually uh, helped in creating a very strong economy of the nations from where they belong to. As we know that individual wealth does not contribute in the global economy, but individual wealth is a sign that there is a possibility and there is a scope for the business. Mukesh Ambani would have never become a billionaire unless and until there would have been a business opportunity for him. Vedanta, as you know that Vedanta Group, it's a very large group today. They have even taken the charge of maintaining some airports also. So Vedanta is also into oil, they are also into power production, they are also into steel, they are also into mining, they are also into so many things. So, as we talk about the global economy basically talks about the matured economies like United States, like United Kingdom, right? Italy, France, Germany, Japan, well-developed infrastructures. They have got very well-developed infrastructure during the pandemic when last year 3 lakh to 4 lakh cases were reported daily. They were having that much number of necessary healthcare support to be provided to the public. Unlike in case of our country, wherein the people struggle to find out the bed and the hospitals, in America, even though 3 lakh to 4 lakh cases were reported, that time they were providing the ventilators and all such kind of benefits. This is another fact that their entire population is very less. And as you see, in case of India, we are the second largest. Very soon, we are going to become the largest populated country in the world. Uh, Taking a cognizance of it, China has already made a liberal policy of allowing their citizens to have 3 children because, as per the latest projections, China will have more number of old people as compared to India. Now, after 10 to 15 years, these young people of India will become older. So, India will have much more number of old people as compared to what we have today. So, all the things are going to contribute to the global economy. And when we talk about the market economies, we should understand the superpowers, their individual wealth, and how the well-developed infrastructures they are having. Market system basically talk about any systems which you have enabled for the free trade,
Hmm?
for the particular
Okay.
entire business, or for doing any kind of transactions. So the cluster of countries that engage in high levels of trade with each other through the elimination of trade barriers such as the quotas and the tariffs and the taxes. For example, NAFTA market system example है ये they North American Free Trade Agreement that NAFTA was enacted covering the United States, Mexico and Canada. तो इनके बीच में जो भी ट्रेडिंग होगी वहां पर कोटास और टैरिफ नहीं लगेंगे. एक्स्ट्रा टैरिफ लगने की वजह से आपका प्राइस बढ़ जाता है. फॉर एग्जांपल फोक्सवैगन की बीटल कार उसका वहां पे मैन्युफैक्चरिंग प्राइस जर्मनी में 5 लाख रुपए था इंडियन करेंसी में. बट जब फोक्सवैगन की बीटल कार इंडिया में आई तो ये कार 28 लाख की हो गई बिकॉज ऑफ द कस्टम ड्यूटीज एंड द टैरिफ्स. तो एक 5 लाख की कार जो इंडियन करेंसी में जर्मनी में है बिकॉज ऑफ द कस्टम ड्यूटी एंड ऑल अदर टैरिफ्स एंड टैक्सेस the price of the car, the showroom ex showroom price was 28 lakh. Now, all these kind of agreements are done so that time to time the countries can get benefited from it and they can have the free trade agreements and they can support their particular imports and exports. Now, European Union of Western European countries, that is again an example of market system which is being uh, in practice or which is being enacted so that all the countries which belong to the European Union can do the particular free trade without any excess tariff or the quota. Then Pacific Asia countries in the South Asia, again they are the examples of the market systems. Any doubt or any confusion with anyone so far? Any questions?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. So, moving ahead, let us now understand the key difference between the factors of production or the factors which are indicating the economies of a country, right? Now, we have the GDP, GNP, and GNI. This is a concept which must have been taught to you in economics also in the previous semester, most probably. So, when we talk about GDP, the full form is gross domestic product. It is being calculated as the value of national output produced in a country. It, when we talk about the GDP, we should also understand the national income, the national output, and the national expenditure. GDP includes the income of foreign multinationals also. When we talk about GNP, gross national product, it is calculated as GDP plus net property income abroad. It excludes the income earned by multinationals when profit is sent back to other country. The next one is the GNI, which is called as the gross national income. It is similar to GNP, some value of the output by resident producers plus the net receipts of primary income from abroad plus any product taxes less subsidies not included in the valuation of the output. That makes the gross national income. A country which earns the positive net income on FDI will include in GNI but not the GDP. So ये GDP और GNI और GNP के बीच में डिफरेंस है, ये इकोनॉमिक्स का टॉपिक है बट यहाँ पर भी इंक्लूड किया गया सो दैट आई हैव जस्ट brushed you this particular topic once again. Now talking about capitalism. What is capitalism? कैपिटलिज्म का मतलब होता है कि जो भी आपके पास में फैक्टर्स ऑफ प्रोडक्शन है, लैंड, लेबर एंड कैपिटल, दैट बिलोंग्स प्राइवेटली टू वन पर्सन और ग्रुप ऑफ पर्संस. कैपिटलिस्ट इकोनॉमीज की अगर बात की जाए तो इन रशिया, after this particular industrial revolution it all started. All the capitalists, they had started pouring their money, they had started pouring their capital for setting up the factories to do the production and to get the profit in return. So when we talk about the capitalist economies, these are the countries or these are the economies which have a lot of money, which they want to pour in or which they want to just invest for the purpose of getting the returns on investments. So when we talk about capitalism, to certain extent capitalism is good, but then if it is being focused more, then probably the other people, the common man, will be deprived of such kind of factors and such particular natural support, or they will be devoid of such resources which probably they can use it to start their business. So when we talk about capitalism, it is an economic system in which the means of production of goods or services are privately owned and operated for a profit. अब कैपिटलिस्ट इकोनॉमीज जो हैं, अब आपको मुझे क्विकली आंसर देना है. आप मुझे कुछ एग्जांपल दीजिए. नेम द कैपिटलिस्ट इकोनॉमीज इन द वर्ल्ड. यस स्टूडेंट्स, गिव मी सम.
After United States,
यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स, ओके.
Germany, Japan.
जर्मनी, जापान, ओके. ओके. एंड okay, so whatever you have said, the top 10 capitalist countries are: number 1 Hong Kong, then Singapore, then Switzerland, sorry, New Zealand, then Switzerland, then
Hong Kong,
Australia,
Japan,
then
Australia,
United States, then Mauritius, then
Which
Georgia,
is
Canada, and
Georgia,
then Ireland.
Canada,
These are
Ireland.
the top 10 ranking capitalist countries in the world. Top position is occupied by Hong Kong. Hong Kong, Singapore, New Zealand, Switzerland, Australia, United States, Mauritius, Georgia, Canada, and Ireland. So America today is being considered as a mixed market economy. I just want to uh, clear you that they are the mixed market economy, meaning that
Yes, sir.
they have the characteristics of both capitalism and socialism. United States is basically a capitalist society where the means of productions are based on private ownership and operations for profit. United States is not a total capitalist society. However, because the economy has regulations, they have taxations also and some subsidizations. So the US government has always had some role in the economy, but the economy was closer to a truly free market during some periods, right? Now, when we talk about Russia, some people say that Russia is a state capitalist society, and others state that Russia is a mixed market economy. State capitalism is basically an economic system in which the particular state undertakes for profit economic activity, and the means of productions are state owned enterprises. The state controls approximately 55% of the Russia's economy, and the government directly employs around 20 million workers, as per a report which I have read. That is actually almost 28% of the total workforce. Additionally, the existence of the uh, oligarchs in Russia makes the country non-capitalist. Now, talking about Japan, Japan is a capitalist country in the form of collective capitalism. In Japan, the collective capitalist system, the workers are usually compensated with the job security, the pension, and the social protection by their particular employees in return for the loyalty and the hard work. So, collective capitalism focuses on the long term relationships, such as companies owing the shares in other companies, resulting in cooperation between the companies since they are interested in each other's performances. So, no country in the world has ever achieved a totally capitalist or the laissez faire or a free market economy. Most all capitalist economies are mixed in nature. Clear one?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I think we should end the discussion over here because we have talked a lot today regarding the statistics and the figures. I now want to ask you the questions related to the particular topics which we have discussed today related to the subject. Anyone having any question is welcome to ask. Any questions?
सर तो फिर चाइना कौन सा इकोनॉमी है सर फिर?
चाइना इकोनॉमी कौन सा है? कल आप ही तो बता रहे थे मुझे.
नहीं सर, मतलब अभी मिक्स्ड इकोनॉमी हम बोलते हैं इंडिया और चाइना, तो मतलब उस वहाँ पे सोशलिज्म भी है, तो मतलब वहाँ पे तीनों मिक्स है क्या सर?
ओके देखिए, जब चाइना की बात की जाती है तो चाइना जो था वो सबसे पहले कम्युनिस्ट वो इकोनॉमी था. कम्युनिस्ट इकोनॉमी का मतलब क्या होता है? वहां पे वो बोलते थे कि जो कुछ भी है दैट इज बीन ओन्ड बाय द स्टेट. आपका
यस
कुछ
सर.
का खुद का कुछ भी नहीं है. आप आपका बिजनेस करना चाहते हो तो करो, आपको जो पैसा लगाना है लगाओ, बट जब भी गवर्नमेंट चाहेगी तब वो पैसा और ये आपका बिजनेस आपसे टेक ओवर कर लेगी. बट धीरे धीरे अभी जब बात की जाती है तो चाइना जो है, चाइना इज नाउ मूविंग अहेड टुवर्ड्स अ मिक्स्ड इकोनॉमी. दे आर गिविंग द चांस टू द प्राइवेट प्लेयर्स टू डू द बिजनेस. क्योंकि अगर टोटल फैक्टर ऑफ प्रोडक्शन अगर गवर्नमेंट के पास में रख दिए तो क्या होगा? करप्शन बढ़ेगा. एट द सेम टाइम ग्रोथ फास्ट नहीं होगी. सो प्राइवेट प्लेयर्स को अभी वो अलाउ कर रहे हैं, राइट?
यस सर.
ओके, शैल वी एंड ओवर हियर नाउ? क्या बोल रहे हैं?